Cursing Granny unmasks Wal-Mart shoplifter. Before we get to the story, click that subscribe button, that like button too. Hey everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Gentlemen, this is maybe my favorite video of the whole year, and it's only the first day of February. I'd like to welcome you to Campbell, Canada. It's a small town on Vancouver Island, about 35,000 people, and the economy is about what you'd expect, fishing, logging, and brazen daylight shoplifting. Let's watch the clip.
You gonna pay for that?
Huh?
You gonna pay for that?
Yeah.
When?
Huh?
You gonna pay for it?
Excuse me. I'm fed up with this bullshit. Damn thing.
Come on, bud. Come on.
Get out.
Come on.
Get out. Get out.
Take your and go. Off.
You just jack up the price for everybody because of you. It's about time they got caught.
Scott, I can't even get into the number of reasons that I adore this video. But the one thing that bugs me is, why did it come down to a little old lady, even if she does curse like a trucker? And by the way, God bless those Canadian truckers, to stop one of these daylight shoplifters from, well, causing prices to raise for everybody.
Well, having a little of experience in the world of retail, both now and in the past, I can tell you that more of this kind of thing happens. And by that, I don't mean more shoplifting. I mean more like people stepping up and intervening in such cases. I've had some limited experience of it myself, being having the opportunity to intervene on several occasions, and I've seen other people do it. So it's only now that everybody carries a camera with them, a video camera of Hollywood quality fidelity, that we're getting to see a lot more of these. The sweet little old lady, she is not. And I thought it was interesting that she didn't seem to take into account whether the guy might be armed, whether he might offer physical resistance. And she just reaches up and pulls the mask off. And I think that's sort of the worst indignity. Like, if she had rammed the shopping cart into his groin, it wouldn't have been as bad as just pulling the mask off, because all of a sudden this big tough guy in the black hood basically becomes just this clamoring, frantic little weasel who's trying to get the cart, away from grandma. And she's like blocking his way to get out the door. So I think that there's something to be said for calling out people when they're engaged in aberrant behavior. And that's what she did. She essentially said, yeah, you're not some tough guy in a mask. Here, let me have that mask, you effing blah, blah, blah. And she yanks that, and all of a sudden it was like as if you had cut Samson's hair. Like, the guy becomes helplessly frantic, and I think the best he could do is finally grab for the backpack in the cart, which I'm not sure he came in with or he was stealing, and then try to get out of there. So people who watch this have probably seen themselves some circumstances where ordinary citizens step up to stop insanity in public places. And, when we get to the deeper issue of some of these gangs of people who are staging broad daylight robberies in organized ways, it only takes a few, and they don't have to be armed or muscular. They could be, 75 years old and have a salty mouth.
Yeah, and despite the salty mouth, I think a real sense of decency. She was chiding the guy the whole time for, being what he is. Bill, I've seen so many of these shoplifting videos over the last couple of years. In fact, just in the last week, I think I've read 2 different stories of Rite Aids in Manhattan being forced to close because of shoplifting. Michael Rappaport, the actor, has been making videos of this thing, and he's going through his local neighborhood Rite Aid in Manhattan, and the shelves are bare, and it's not because anybody was paying for these goods. So my first instinct was to dismiss this video as just another one of these shoplifting videos. It's become so common in this country since all these George Soros DAs have taken the stand of not taking a stand against these these so-called lifestyle crimes, as if shoplifting is a lifestyle. But what got me is this wasn't New York City. This wasn't Los Angeles. This wasn't San Francisco or Minneapolis. This was small town Canada. Does that bother you or grip you in some way?
No, at first I thought, well, she pulled off the mask because she was in a small town, but I suspect she would have pulled off her mask wherever she happened to be at the time. And I think that leads me to the conclusion. We are having this shoplifting epidemic because we consider it perhaps a political issue. You know, there are people who we don't want to put in jail, and then the whole thing. We know that. And then sometimes we consider it an economic issue, like what is the actual cost of shoplifting versus the benefit of having the store stay open and all the rest of it. It's not a political issue, and it's not an economic issue. It's a moral issue. If you live in a world where people simply can steal right in front of your eyes, then you have entered a universe where it no longer matters whether you work, whether you conserve your money. If you live in a world where somebody can steal something in broad daylight like that, that is a morally bankrupt nation. And this woman, being older, isn't from a morally bankrupt time. And that's why she did what she did, because she could tell that this was morally wrong. The guy is stealing from the store, and she wasn't going to put up with it because he was stealing. Not because it would reduce the prices on it, not because, the politics. He was stealing. And until we get back to this issue, Steve, until we get back to the idea that there's no justification. If something is right or wrong, it's either right or wrong. Stealing is a moral evil. Every society in the world knows that. And our society has decided to not only look the other way, but to make a point of looking the other way. And that's why we're seeing so much of this. So she's got a much higher moral tone than the politicians that are making this kind of thing not only practical and possible, but essentially inevitable.
Yeah, inevitable is the word, because we know how this works. We experimented with the soft on crime thing starting in the late 60s, and we ended up with a 25-year-long crime wave that didn't crest until the early 90s. In fact, the popular culture started to reflect it pretty quickly. We got the Dirty Harry movies. We got the Death Wish movies.
Vigilantism, yeah.
Bingo.
The police won't protect us, so somebody is going to have to.
Bingo.
Billy Jack.
Billy Jack. Oh, how did I not mention Billy Jack? What a great soundtrack to that flick, right? It's a little cheesy. I don't care. And I think that's kind of the point with these Soros DAs, getting back to the United States for a second, since that's where I live. I don't think the point really is letting their criminal buddies go. I don't think the point is taking a cut from organized crime, although it wouldn't surprise me if Chesaboudin or any of these other DAs were getting a cut. I think the point is to encourage lawlessness from law-abiding people. It's to get that vigilantism going, not to punish their buddies who happen to be criminals, but because the breakdown of law and order for law-abiding people is their real aim, because that is how they seize power. Still, I got to tip my hat to that little old lady. That's your right angle on that, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Hey, quick reminder, content like this needs sponsors like you, so go to BillWhittle.com, become a member, just make a one-time donation. We sure appreciate your support. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.